Hey, so we've talked about quite a bit so far already, and this could go on and on and on in all sorts of different directions, right? But we've talked about price, we've talked about what you offer, we've talked about how to sell that to someone. We really need to talk about marketing as well. You know, the posts you make, the blogs you write, the signs you put up, all of it. And I want you to think back to that very first compass we set for ourselves. What's the change and who's it for? And what's the promise? Because that is important, right? It's not for everybody. Not everybody's going to care about it. Not everybody wants it, and you don't want to work with everybody, right? But so often what we do, and I see this in particular in like the movement coach space, right? It's like we're all in a circle looking in at the same couple of people. Like we see Dan John or Ido Portal or Fighting Monkey. Like we're looking at the same like four people in the middle, and we're just copying them. So you get this like miasma of just stupid, watered down sameness, and it's like a bunch of movement coaches selling movement coaching to movement coaches who want to coach movement coaches on movement, and it's like barf. So you're allowed to be your own individual person within the marketplace. Did you know that? You're allowed to. It's really cool. It's kind of fun when you do too, because then you don't feel like a fraud because you're not a fraud. You're your own person doing your own thing. It's a really nice way to be. So instead of everyone like looking in the circle and like seeing what everyone else is doing, it's like close your eyes to the circle. Who cares what they're doing? It doesn't matter what they're doing, because maybe their work is for people that your work isn't, right? Like the people who buy from them, they're not stupid. This idea comes from Seth Godin as well. It's like the people who choose your competitors over you, they're not stupid. They're making what they think is a really intelligent decision based on what they know and what they care about, what they value, what they see, what they believe, all of which might be different than what you know and what you value and what you care about and what you see and what you believe. It's like maybe you think that I'll give you an example of the guy I talked about in the very first video, the no clients guy. The thing that matters most to him is having the most robust framework of educate, like having the perfect evidence-based, all of this method, and that's what he cares about. And he's baffled that he has no clients. And it's like, well, maybe that's not what other people care about. Maybe they only care about feeling better. Have you tried that? Rather than attach all this grandiose language, like, you know, you look at all of some of the other people too. It's like you need to be more resilient, and you need to flow through it, and like movement is life, and all. And it's like maybe not for the people you want to help. Like maybe they're just a dad who wants to play catch with his son. He just doesn't want to feel like shit the next day. Maybe that's all he cares about. Like what we're looking at is an exercise in empathy. You need to take your blinders off and accept that the rest of the world doesn't see things the way you do. They see things the way they do. Maybe they care about different things altogether, right? So what I'd like to share here is just a really fun exercise. First of all, you're going to need paper, maybe a bunch of paper. This also comes from Seth Godin, so just credit where credit is due, right? Check out the marketing seminar. It's the best thing in the world in terms of marketing. But anyway, and I should also, I don't get paid for that. I just think it's great. So you're going to need a bunch of paper. And what we're going to do is look at how you position yourself within the marketplace. And what I mean by that is like, there's this whole sea of competition, right? There are thousands of options. You look at everyone's Instagram profiles and like everyone offers online coaching, DM me for details. It's like, well, what? What does that mean to any, like, how is someone supposed to choose? Like, put yourself in your potential client's shoes. They're not just following you, they're following like 1,000 other people. And if they see in everyone's profile, online coaching, DM for details, it's like, oh, everyone says online coaching, DM for details. And they all do FRC, or oh, they all do MoveNet, or oh, okay. If they have 1,000 choices, they're not going to make a decision. Like maybe you've heard of the jelly study in the supermarket. There were two tables. One had like 6 options for jams and jellies, and the other had like 42 options for jams and jellies. And you could try them and then buy something afterwards. And what they found is that the people who had 42 different options bought at a way lower frequency than people who only had 6. Like, they were better able to make a decision about what mattered to them. So this positioning work that we're going to explore here isn't about like how you can stand out in the marketplace and how you can differentiate from the competition. If you do it right, you won't have any competition. What this is an exercise in is figuring out how you engage with the things that already matter to the people that you want to change. Like, the people that your work is for, they care about certain things. And what you want to do is just show yourself like, hey, if you care about this, and you care about this, and you care about this, I'm your best choice, right? So I'm going to grab a chalkboard, and I'll show you what I mean. And I love going through this example with folks in the movement space because it's so fun. We all know the same people, and we all follow the same people, and it's a little weird, it's a little incestuous, so hopefully all these examples are going to make sense. So what you're going to do, and I'll probably have to change this multiple times here, but you're going to draw, oh, and I hope it doesn't squeak. Chalkboard squeak is the worst. You're going to draw an XY axis, right? And let's say like the barrier of entry is that you help people move better. Like, maybe there are a bunch of people down here who just make people move worse or feel worse. That's not even half of the thing that we want to be on, right? But so if there are all these thousands of options that people could move better and could feel better, we want to figure out, well, how do people make decisions? And so we might begin by coming up with a list of all of the different things that some people care about, right? So some people care about cost, right? That matters to some people. So for example, very cheap on one end of this axis would be like the Craigslist personal trainer listing. $10 a session. Fine. Some people like that. Over here might be, whatever celebrity trainer who charges like, maybe they do charge $2,000 a session, now that I think about it, right? So that would be a really clear way to differentiate between these people. But so cost is just one thing people care about. Maybe people care about trendy or popular, right? Maybe someone wants to do the trendy and popular kind of thing. And so maybe on one side of the axis we put Ido Portal, right? Everyone knows who Ido Portal is in the movement world. So maybe you just want to say like, I did handstands and I did the corset workshop and ooh, I'm on the inside thing. It's really cool. Fine, great, that works. That's certainly not all that Ido does though, right? Like, there are other things going on, but like, that's a big reason why people go to those workshops, is because a bunch of other people go to those workshops. Now, we might look at like another example, and we might say, well, some people don't care so much about that. What they care about is evidence. Wow, my writing sucks on a chalkboard. Oh, and it's squeaking. This is terrible. Sorry about that. Evidence. They like evidence in the things that make them feel better. It's like, oh, well, if you want an evidence-based methodology for moving better, good, chalk. I need a whiteboard. Someone mail me a whiteboard. I'll use it. I'll thank you. If you want evidence-based way to move better, FRC. It's like, that's the method. It's all evidence-based. Dre has all those slides, and he cites all those studies, and it's like, oh, wow, okay, that's really cool. So some people care about expensive, some people care about trendy, some people care about evidence. Some people, don't want to spend $1,000 for a weekend and have to fly to another stupid city and get a hotel room and all that. So like, some people want online. And it's like, okay, so, maybe you don't go to an FRC workshop, or maybe you don't go hang with Ido for a weekend. Instead, you want something online that you can do anywhere. It's like, oh, sorry about that chalk again. I'm just going to stop apologizing because fuck it. GMB, they're the online guys. They're on the Inc. 500 for fastest growing companies. Like, they're crushing it. If you want to move better and you want to do it from like the comfort of your home, like their online repertoire, unparalleled, right? And some people really care about that. Of course, that's not all, right? So maybe we also have, FRC, we have Edo, we have GMB, and so maybe some people say like, that's all garbage. I want to be outside. I'm natural. I'm wild. I want to be primal, man. And so maybe then MoveNat is the best choice. It's like, hey, if you want to move better and you love being outside, MoveNat, at least in their original manifestation, right? So a lot of their workshops are inside now, and they've gotten a little businessy for some people. And so maybe they're over here, and it's like, okay, so maybe you want to move better, but you don't want like the company kind of corporate-y vibe to it, but you want to be outside still. It's like, all right, look at Rafe Kelly, Evolve, Move, Play. Rafe's great. His workshops are awesome. You'll learn a ton, and you're outside the entire time. If you love being outside and you want to move better, go for it. He's your guy. But, that's not for everybody, right? So we can see that with each of these little different axes, you clump all of the other people over there. So it's like maybe you want to move better and you want a pseudo-spiritual vibe to it, and you want to wear expensive clothes. Go to yoga. That should have gone over here. But maybe, you care about like, spirit. And I know there are a zillion reasons why people do yoga. I know there are a zillion different, it's an example, okay? No one needs to get upset about this. But so maybe you want to do yoga. These guys certainly don't have a little spiritual flair. If that's your shtick, then yoga's your thing, right? And then you get to choose from the infinite array of yoga teachers, right? Maybe, we put yoga over here. These guys, you kind of know what you're going to get, right? Like, pretty much what's going to happen in like the GMB stuff. What's going to happen in an Edo workshop. In FRC, it's going to look like yoga, but with more grunting. Like, this stuff is kind of predictable, right? Like Rafe, you're going to do parkour in the trees and you're going to wrestle. You know what's going to happen in those things. Maybe you don't want to have any fucking clue what's going on when you do this stuff. So maybe you like the mystery. It's supposed to be a question mark. Maybe you want something totally unpredictable. In which case, maybe fighting monkey is your thing, right? You go to those and you have zero clue. Maybe you're going to carve out a sphere from a hunk of wood. Maybe you're going to dance and with like another person, or you're going to have like a tennis ball to like interact with. If you want to have no clue what's going on, but you want to move better, and there's an element of trendy in there too, right? Fighting monkey's your thing. There's like an exclusivity to it too, although they're getting more popular, right? So what are some of the other things people care about in the world of I want to move better and I want to feel better? You can probably come up with a zillion different things that some people care about. For me, the longest time, the thing that I wanted to do was like, all right, for people who kind of like higher end stuff, and they like being outside, and they're interested in kind of personal development and the kind of psychological side of things, I'm your guy. And I tried to be the only guy in there, where it's like, if you're interested in personal development and psychology and outside and somatics, I can't think of too many people that do that. So, maybe I'm your guy if you're into all those things. And of course, this can evolve and change over time. You're doing it right when you've lumped all of your competitors into a different quadrant on this. So realistically, they exist in all of these different areas, depending on what you have on the axis. Outside, inside. Predictable, unpredictable. Corporate, solo. Spiritual, not spiritual. trendy, not trendy, whatever. Like, map out a zillion different axes. It's like, do you want something expensive and exclusive? Work with Ido Portal for a weekend. I think his private things with athletes are like $20,000, some absurd amount, right? Pricey and exclusive and a little trendy, and it will help you move better too, right? So you can see that this isn't necessarily a way to stand out in the marketplace. Rather, it's a way to be unmistakable within the marketplace. It's a way to be the only one in the world who does what you do. And the thing to keep in mind is that you decide what the world is. Maybe the world is all of the online space. If that's the case, you better be pretty damn remarkable to a small segment of people and know really deeply what they care about. Maybe the world is just your local community, in which case, if you're the only FRC/yoga person in your community, you're unmistakable. No one else in your world is doing what you're doing, right? So you kind of follow me. It depends on what you want to do, whom you want to serve, what community, what space. And then once you've chosen them, this is your chance not to necessarily say who am I now? But what are the axes that, again, I'm committed to carving out? What extremes am I willing to go through? What edges am I going to push on behalf of my clients? For the people that really care about being outside when they move, and the people that really care about exclusivity, how can I make the most exclusive, most outside-oriented event or service, right? Or for the people that really love evidence and really love online stuff. How can I make the absolute best evidence-driven online course in the world, or whatever the thing is? You carve out your own little world on these axes, and then you plant your flag, and it is up to you to really stack up to whatever that promise is.